story. There's hardly any cars on the road. All the shops are closed, just one or two people walking on the street. When I've been here before at this time, it would be absolutely jam-packed. You could barely move. Freetown is a ghost town. The government shut down the entire country for a day. For reflection, they say. Hammering 3 countries, the outbreak is worst here in Sierra Leone. And the World Health Organization says Ebola is now spreading faster than they can contain it. The fear is spreading with it. For months, the public's response has been dominated by denial and rumors, while Ebola silently kills. As the death toll mounts, they are tightening access to the roads that help spread the disease. And they're getting the word out to calm the panic. Like the rest of the nation, Mamadou Tso stayed at home today. The elders put out the word to stay at home, and we need to respect that, he says. We need to stop Ebola. But Ebola keeps spreading, affecting more people and wider areas than ever before. Health officials say that at best it could take months to stop it. But there are no guarantees even of that. So the whole country shut down?
Yeah, the whole country is a national issue. The whole country, everybody should stay home with his family, to pray with his family.
Why do people need to pray?
Well, because of this problem we are encountering, this Ebola issue.
We've been through a series of checkpoints. Each one is stricter than the last. One Red Cross official told us that along this road, Ebola is everywhere, but it's through this point into Calhoun district where it is the epicenter of this unprecedented epidemic, and it's there that the biggest battles are being fought. And those battles are being fought here in Calhoun by groups like Doctors Without Borders. They are scrambling every resource they have, Aaron, to try and get patients into a confined area and, if possible, of course, save them, though the death rates here are pretty horrific at around 70%, they say. And still, they say there are people in the villages who might be too afraid or not believe that they have Ebola.
It is not
who
no
are not
70%,
coming to
it
treatment
is 90%
centers. And they say that could mean that this could last for many months and spread further than it has already in this region. Aaron?
All right, thank you. Terrifying. Thanks so much, Dave McKenzie.
Because if it's at 90%, where's the other damn 10%?
And now to a man
of
who
people that
survived
live.
Ebola. Dr. Thomas CAIRNS caught a mysterious infection when he was working in what is now the Democratic Republic of Congo. It was in 1972, before the deadly virus had even been formally discovered. It nearly killed him. No one knew what he was, but what it was. But Dr. CAIRNS, you survived this. Your blood, a few years later, came back, was tested, and it turns out they could confirm all the signs pointed to the fact that you had Ebola. How do you think you were exposed?
Well, I was exposed because I was working at the hospital there, and a patient was brought in who was critically ill. We really didn't know what it was. He died. He was almost dead on arrival when he got there, and the local authorities wanted us to do an autopsy to find out what it was, so we did. And in the course of doing the autopsy, I pricked my finger with a scalpel. About 12 days later, I came down with all the classic symptoms of what we now know as Ebola.
You know that man ain't pricked his finger with no damn scalpel. That man breathed that shit in or made that shit.
Yeah, it was apparently incubating during that time, and that's fairly typical with the Ebola thing. It can go a while before the symptoms manifest themselves.
And what were your symptoms?
Well, a lot of severe flu-like symptoms, classic flu, but much, much worse. Headache and fever, very high fever, and nausea and vomiting and cough, a fair amount of rash that developed over time,
come on, y'all. This
which then led to some skin sloughing.
So how long did it take for you to actually get better?
It was a long 6 weeks, actually several weeks, I don't remember, and then gradually recovering over another 6 weeks before I was even able to go back up to the hospital to start working. And then after that, trying to gradually regain my strength. I had lost about 20 pounds, and my wife was feeding me milkshakes to try to build me up. Little by little, gradually getting my strength back, so that perhaps several months then I was getting gradually full health again.
And then when they did realize that you had had Ebola, I know that, you obviously came back to the United States and you had then in your blood, right, antibodies. That's how they were able to determine that you had had Ebola. So the CDC, can I just ask you this question? Because I know people have been very curious about this. Why is the United States bringing Ebola patients back now? And I believe your experience was they had been collecting blood from you to try to find those antibodies, build up serums and defenses for years, right?
Yeah, well, what happened was I did not come back to the U.S. at that time. I stayed on another year and a half or so until my normal home assignment was due. Then we came back, and it was still, we didn't know what it was. Until 1976, we were back in Congo and or Zaire, and at that time the epidemics broke out. From that point on, they did the serum surveys of Congolese or Zaireans, as well as a number of us foreigners. And of the 50 or so foreigners they drew blood on, I turned out to be positive. So then they were very interested in drawing blood from me in order to maintain a serum bank of a few units of serum back here at CDC.
Come on, guys.
So
they're making this guy look
in
like
case
Will
of
Smith
a
and
lab
I Am
accident,
Legend.
let's say,
Please,
at CDC,
I Am Legend, guys.
Somebody sticks their finger
Ladies
or
and
whatever,
gentlemen.
they would be able to use it. So they did that for each of the next, I suppose, 3-year cycles that we were in the States. We would come back every 3 or 4 years, and they would draw more blood, and they would then keep it. Finally, after the third time, they told me that the antibody level in my blood had decreased so much that it really was almost undetectable. So then they haven't drawn any blood on me in probably 20 years, maybe a little longer now.
So Dr. Ken Brantley, who is, it looks like miraculously will survive, he received, he's still fighting, but he has been able to walk around. He's received a blood transfusion from someone who recently did recover from Ebola. So do you think that helped, that this could be the best way to I mean, obviously it's not a full cure, but for those who have a shot, that getting a blood transfusion from someone like you when you have the antibodies could save someone's life?
I think it's very possible.
What I don't get
because
is
the general
this
principle of
fucking
immunology
news station is in
if
damn near
someone
New York
is
City.